Who's that coming down the track? Who's that coming down the track? It's a mean machine in red and white. Mean machine in red and white. Ain't nothing finer in the land. Ain't nothing finer in the land. Them drunk obnoxious Georgia fans. Them drunk obnoxious Georgia fans. Go, go! Go, go!
What's up, y'all? This is John and Mike back for another episode of the Nothing Finer podcast. As always, you can find us as part of the Fans First Sports Network and on Millions. Tonight, we are giving post-spring top 10s, and normally we try to not do like super topical stuff. Like if we see 247 and On3 and ESPN and Saturday Down South and PFF and every other person that talks about college football do something. We try to not do it. But at the same time, I saw some ridiculous stuff being said in some people's post-spring top 10s. So that's what we're doing. We will get into specifically what just absolutely absurd things have been said. And I'm sure y'all, if you've listened to the show for long enough to know me and my general thoughts on college football, and you have also been on Instagram to see these top 10s, you know where I'm going. I don't even have to say it. But some people really should not get paid to do this, and they do. But before we get into that, how you been, man? What are you drinking?
I've been doing good, man. Been out of grad school for a little bit now, a little summer break. We start again on Monday, but celebrated my father-in-law's 77th birthday today, so that was fun. Went to the pool, did all kinds of fun stuff with that. But I got a Coke Zero and cognac because again, I don't drink like an adult. I drink like I'm 16. So I've been kind of sipping on that all day.
Wait, what cognac?
So, oh, it's like Christian Brothers. It's not even good cognac.
Well, that's brandy. Christian Brothers is brandy.
You're
They
right.
might also make cognac, but I've only ever had their brandy.
I think they make both, but this act,
Okay.
you know, you're probably right. This one, I think this is the brandy version of it. But I mean, along those same lines, anything is possible.
Man, the last time I drank cognac, it was not good. Um,
Yeah.
Pretty sure I've talked about Dennis on the show before. A friend of mine played at West Point for a little bit. It was he had a bachelor party, as in like
Okay.
the women had a baby shower. He had a bachelor party, and he asked me to come up early, and we barbecued, and we went to the liquor store and bought a keg and like $500 in alcohol, and I think just passing the bottle between like six guys before anybody else got there, we killed a bottle in half an hour of Henny.
Hell yeah.
That's the last time I had any. It also took a solid month for my liver to recover from that, but is what it is.
I'm disappointed that no one ever threw me a whatever you called it.
Bachelor party.
Bachelor party. Yeah, no. And plenty of opportunities.
I will say, when I have kids, if my friends do not throw me a bachelor party, I need better friends. Like that's just kind of where I'm at.
Holler at me because I don't really need an excuse to do this, but I'm down.
That's honestly that's the last time I've done a keg stand. Was the bachelor party.
Nice.
Yeah. Just a bunch of former D1 athletes holding me up because that's back when I was heavy.
Yeah.
So it was their workout for the day.
I will say real quick, shout out to my oldest son. This is last week of middle school. He's going to go into high school next year. So I feel especially old now, and I'm dressing like I'm the opposite of that.
Yeah. Shout out Stanley for sure. But also the next 4 years are going to suck, and then everything starts to suck more. Welcome to adulthood.
My boy I told him like you're peaking right now. It's not going to get any better. This is the the height of everything
Eighth
right now.
grade really is the peak of a lot of people,
Yeah,
especially if you ride a bus. Like, dude, you are king of the hill on that bus in middle school as an eighth grader.
yeah. Because if you're taking the bus as a senior, you got some problems, man.
Right. And then you get to high school and you just get stepped on for 3 years. And then you feel cool for like a month. And then you go to college or the real world and get stepped on for a while.
When do you stop getting stepped down?
I believe what's Social Security age 65. Um,
But then even when you die, you're still getting stepped down.
well, it depends on how you want, like how you want to do the funeral situation. Um, I have told my wife I've wanted a Viking funeral forever now.
Hell, hell yeah.
Um, and now that we live within legitimate distance of international waters, because it's illegal to like burn a body in the ocean in U.S. waters, but international waters it's all good. So it's a legitimate opportunity now.
Yeah, there you go. How's it going for you? Sorry, I'm like you said, we're both drinking.
We
It's
are.
gonna be interesting.
No, man, had a little disc golf tournament this afternoon, and went to the brewery afterwards with a couple of the guys. And have you and Jen ever met my friend, like our friends Vaughn and Emily? I don't remember.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well they had their baby in January. And I am the friend uncle that the baby sleeps the best with. So we went to the brewery after disc golf, and the baby just slept in my arms for 2 hours while I drank beer and watched the Braves game.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so my left arm shot out, but I got to drink a few beers at the brewery and had some Sweetwater hazies in the fridge. So
Oh yeah.
so we're doing all right. I played like shit, but that just kind of is what it is. Tybie's windy as hell right now.
Mhm.
Storm rolling in. 30-mile-an-hour winds on the beach. Who'd have thought?
Yeah, right.
All right. So we're about to talk about baseball for just a second. Not a whole lot has really been learned over the last few days, but after baseball, the way we're doing the post spring top 10, Mike's doing his, I'm doing mine, and then I think we're gonna alternate on Caleb's, like you do one, I do two kind of thing.
All right.
Um, so we've got all three of ours here. While you're talking, I will have to finish writing my last one. Um, but we're good as far as that goes. Baseball. It was a good weekend. Um, Georgia won the first game, and the second game, the bats just kind of went silent. A lot of
And
people
that
were,
and that's really the first time that's happened all year. I mean, they got shut out.
yeah. I if it's happened more than once, it's been less than three times.
Yeah.
Georgia, for a very specific reason, has the most runs, most home runs, most RBIs in baseball, college baseball at least. Um, Very offensive powerhouse kind of team. But, and this is something that we've talked about every couple of weeks throughout the season, Texas A&M has every piece to still be the number one team in college baseball.
Yeah.
They don't. It's like if somebody dumped out a jigsaw puzzle and said, "Man, I'm missing pieces." Like, dude, you hadn't put it together to find out if you're missing pieces yet. Like, you don't know. We don't
Right.
know. We can see you got the corners and all the edge pieces.
Mhm.
Like that's where A&M is as far as the baseball team goes.
Won the series though.
Georgia did win the series with a very big game Saturday afternoon, the last game of the season. And this is something that we talked about in our group chat on Friday, is that the trees were hungry towards the end of that game. Getting shut out. That's the first time it's happened at home all season for sure.
Yeah.
And then Saturday afternoon, those trees feasted. Georgia and Aggie baseballs, if we're being entirely honest. A&M hit three or four home runs in that game. was nowhere close to enough. Um, Georgia just started raking, and with that, they are the 5 seed in the SEC tournament, which means they're the first team out of getting a double bye. If LSU had lost their game on Saturday, Georgia would have been the 4 seed. Um, so they were real close to getting a double bye there. Didn't happen. So Wednesday, I believe, is when the SEC tournament starts. I will pull that back up because I knew until I started talking about it. Um, but yeah, no, it's the SEC baseball tournament starts this week, and then on Sunday is Selection Sunday for baseball. And at this point, Georgia has one loss left to go before now and next Sunday, SEC tournament single elimination. So regardless of what happens between right this minute and Sunday afternoon, Georgia will be a top 8 seed in the country. And this is a stat that I actually read earlier today. They are number one in RPI. They're top 5 in strength of schedule. They're top 5 in strength of record. And that's with 14 losses on the season. Georgia will be a top 8 seed regardless of what happens in the SEC tournament. Which just love to hear that. I'm trying to get it pulled up here.
I
USA
think
Today
they
needs to do some work on how they have these articles set up. Here we go.
I think they
Um,
play the winner of Tennessee and somebody on Wednesday or Thursday, whenever they play.
yeah, so there are game 6 playing the winner of game 2, 1:30 p.m. on SEC Network. Game 2 is Oklahoma and Kentucky. Um, so
Yes.
Georgia has beaten Oklahoma and Kentucky this year. Kentucky did win the series. Georgia won the series at Oklahoma. So give and take there. Personally, Boomer Sooner. Georgia's already
Yes.
proven they can beat the hell out of them boys. Is what it
Mhm.
is. But yeah, no, I'm excited. I think it would be very fitting for Nolan McCarthy, of all people, to play Kentucky in the SEC tournament because he played at Kentucky for 4 years before he came to Georgia. That's kind of outside of the point. Regardless, Georgia's hosting a regional. Should they make it out of that regional, they're hosting a super regional. Um, and I think that is pretty awesome. Year 2
Yeah.
of Wes Johnson, and we're once again a top 8 seed. Once again, one of the best teams in the country. And the SEC in general, I believe they're projected to be 6 of the top 8 seeds in the country, which is just absolutely absurd.
Indeed. Baseball conference. Everything conference.
Everything conference. Um, but also, side note, if you guys are on YouTube and you see this shirt, I'm not advertising. This is my brother's old moving company that went out of business like a decade ago. I can just finally fit in the shirt again. So like no free ads, but I'm hyping myself up a little bit there.
Hell yeah.
All right, post spring top 10 started off. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry. So you may hear a baby in the background. That's why it was muted. But let me start by saying that this season feels just as wide open as last year. I think we all kind of struggle with doing a top 10 at this point.
For sure.
And probably as we get closer to, August 31st or, opening weekend or week 0, whatever, um, maybe even more difficult, but we will see because that's the fun part about talking about football. But anyway, so my top 10, my post-spring top 10. Number one, as much as it hurts to say, I do have Texas number one. The team that hasn't won a toss-up game in a couple years looks like they'll be the most complete team in this post-spring transfer portal portion of our offseason. Of course, Sark and the unlimited NIL waste management budget that Texas has, and literally the trashiest fan base in all of college football, literally.
Oh, you
Um,
saying that about Texas? That's a hot take.
I mean, they have unlimited trash,
Like literal trash. You could
literal.
make an argument, but Tennessee did do it first.
But who did it better?
I think Tennessee because I mean Lane Kiffin picked up the mustard bottle and golf ball off the field and still has them to this day.
But did Tennessee accomplish anything out of that? They were already winning the game anyway. Like they won that game, but well, I mean Texas lost that game too. So I mean I don't know. It's an argument, but Texas did get a call overturned because they were trashy. So
Yeah,
there's that.
which is the real University of Trash? We don't know yet.
But UT, that's what it stands for. But yeah, but they have an unlimited NIL budget. So, obviously they hit the transfer portal hard, recruiting hard, all of that. So they're going to have another stacked roster this year. So that's not going to be a problem for them. And one of the other things that I kind of took into consideration for this was Arch is probably an upgrade over the one-armed Quinn Ewers that we talked about last week, tearing his oblique against Georgia the first time and not really getting back healthy the rest of the year and being very, very limited for that. So, one would think that they would be kind of better off at that position that kind of, keeps everything going for, for any team really. But I do have Texas number 1. 2, again, this hurts as well, have Ohio State. Defending champs normally would kind of side on them being number 1. However, as the resident Ohio hater of this podcast, I do have my concerns. So hear me out.
Sure. Like I think Texas is pretty clearly the number 1 team, and it sucks.
Yeah. Top 2 don't feel good about at all, really. But with Ohio State, first question is, who's your quarterback? It seems like it's Justin Sand, who Ohio fans claim to be better than CJ Stroud and Justin Fields combined. Obviously, I'm not sold. He hasn't played yet. He's a redshirt freshman or even a sophomore. I don't know how many games he played last year, or appeared in last year. But of course, they have probably, at least at a minimum, top 3, if not the best wide receiver room in the country. So he has stuff to work with. Another concern, new coordinators are honestly really the reason why they're not number 1 for me. First-time play caller on offense and world-renowned wide receiver coach Brian Hartline is the offensive coordinator this year. There's no doubt that the man can recruit wide receiver talent and coach them up and all that. So no hating on him, but has he called plays before? I don't know if he has at any level, to be honest. So that's going to be something that is a genuine concern for anybody, right?
For sure.
And then this generation's smartest man alive, literal rocket scientist and walking toilet seat full of pubic hair, Matt Patricia, is their defensive coordinator. He was brought in to be the most hated person in the program, and we've talked about this before, but taking heat off of Ryan Day, the only person with a more punchable face is Matt Patricia. So shout out to Ryan Day. He is self-aware.
I was about to say, Ryan Day can do very few things, but one of those is read a room,
Yeah. For the most part, yeah. I guess he's not making laws in Ohio that try to make flag planting a felony or outlawing noon games. He's not.
Wait,
he's
did,
not.
did Ohio actually try to outlaw noon games?
So they did. They wrote a bill in the state legislature there, and they said no noon games besides for the Michigan game because that is tradition.
Okay, yeah, that is as much as I don't agree with it, it's fine.
Yeah.
But is it an actual law in Ohio? And if so, what's the punishment?
Yeah. No, I don't know. I think it's I think it's like a 7-figure fine, or I don't know who they fined.
Does it go to the TV channel or does it go to Ohio State? Because if so, they're just paying themselves. It is a public university.
Great question. I don't think they thought that far through.
You could have just stopped it. I don't think they thought.
No, Ohio.
Welcome to Ohio. Thinking optional.
Hell on earth. Yeah. So they again Matt Patricia. I said what I said about him. Very, y'all know how I feel about Matt Patricia. I've made it very clear
I do
several
have
times.
one question. When you said
Okay.
literal rocket scientist, is he on that like Josh Dobbs?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Oh,
think I think I could be wrong. He went to MIT for like uh I don't know the actual term for it, but rocket science, aeronautics or whatever the freak it is.
you know, I have a cousin with that degree, and not gonna say most people that have that degree look the same, but Josh Dobbs is an outlier. Uh,
Because he has alopecia. Is that is that what it is?
I don't really think that I should explain a hell of a lot. Um, but yeah, no, I was, generally, I think most people that have a rocket scientist degree look like Matt Patricia, regardless of hair color.
Got you. Don't say anymore. I understand. I think
I'm,
for sure.
just saying.
Yeah. And then last part for Ohio State roster's obviously reloaded even after they lost 14 guys to the draft. So I mean they're gonna be fine, and they're again probably more than likely the best roster that money can buy in college football. Them and
Except
them.
for allegedly Texas is spending $40 million on this year's roster, outside of the 20 and like 17 in debt that Ohio State went into last year.
Hope it's worth it for their Mickey Mouse ass title, but
That's
yeah.
yeah, that's I actually have a pretty decent and I think relatively objective analysis of Ohio State in mind. So we'll get
Yeah,
into that.
for those of y'all listening to my objective analysis on Ohio State, it's not going to happen. Sorry.
Yeah, your objective analysis is pee pee poo poo Ohio State.
Yeah, yeah. I went close to PG about Matt Patricia as I could, and that's with calling him a toilet seat full of pubic hair. Anyway, moving on. Georgia, number 3. So I know I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm gonna try to move a little bit faster, but drinking the Kool-Aid. I know Georgia lost a ton in the secondary to the draft, but we all think that Dalen's going to improve a lot. He got better in the last, Texas game and on, or especially against Texas, but he did get better throughout the season. KJ Bolden's going to take a lot of snaps that Malachi and Dan Jackson had, depending on where Kirby and Dan Lanning, not Dan Lanning.
Glenn Schumann, Will
Yeah,
Muschamp,
Glenn Schumann want to put him. Yeah,
T Rob.
all them boys where I want to put them.
It's rare that I remember a name. So
I
let's take a minute and mark that down.
There you go. Uh, but uh, but KJ Bolden's going to take more snaps, and already looks like he could be a star to replace those guys. And hopefully that Ellis Robinson can move into a more of a prominent position in the secondary this year. I think we're all hoping for that and wanted that last year, but we're obviously not in the coaching position rooms and all that, so we can't make a good observation there. But linebacker room might be the best in the country. As we talked about, C.J. Allen, Chris Cole, Justin Williams, just to name a few. That's not a problem. Not really worried about that, even with losing Jalen
Yeah,
Walker, Mike
linebacker
Hall.
room is the it's the only position on the entire football team that I have absolutely no question about.
Even with all the losses, it's still going to be a strength.
Correct.
Um, D-line did lose a lot of production. Honestly, it was pretty underwhelming at times last year and even the year before. Hopefully, Xavier McLeod, Jonah, Johnny, Christian Miller, Elijah Griffin can all improve on that part of the defense. We'll see. They have some time to get ready for it. They're not starting off with Clemson. They're starting off with like Austin P and Marshall, who both probably don't really have much of a roster right now anyway.
Yep,
So they
Marshall,
have
who
time
broke the record for most transfers out of the program, is game one.
So yeah, I mean we have time to figure stuff out. So that's definitely a positive for Georgia. All accounts say that Gunner looks way more comfortable as QB1. Take everybody's word for it that have told me that. So that's exciting. Wide receiver room should be significantly better. Transfer portal additions like Zachariah Branch, Noah Thomas, while keeping Dylan Bell should be a plus with and working with Gunner there. So that should be better. Not to mention some of the guys that really didn't get a ton of time last year that are expected to step up. Tight end U, nothing else needs to be said. Like 5 deep, maybe not 5 deep, but
No, I
several.
think 5 deep is probably the correct number.
Yeah. Yeah. So that again, linebacker room, tight end room, can't worry me any way that any kind of doubt you try to spell in my mind, I'm not worried about it. Hopefully the running back room is healthy. You got to expect Nate and Roderick to be the main guys with a healthy mix of Cass Jones.
Who?
Cass Jones.
Oh, okay.
There you go. O-line, who knows? That's really the reason why I don't have them in the top 2.
Right.
It wasn't great last year. We got big bodies in there, but who knows if like Stacey Sherholz and them will get them to where they need to be. Fingers crossed. Again, they have time to get them. They're a couple, maybe even like worse competition in spring games to start off the year. So we'll see. 4, got Oregon. Not as we go, I don't have as much detail with this stuff because honestly, I don't know. Oregon, number 4, Dan Lanning yet again is building something special out in Eugene. They will have a quarterback competition in the fall. Dante Moore is probably the leader there. Played at UCLA 2 years ago. Was a backup last year. Very talented. I think he was a 5-star kid out of Detroit. We'll see how that goes. Who knows? But they've had good or great quarterback play, or good to great quarterback play entire time that Dan Lanning's been there. So it should be all right. Evan Stewart's probably the second best wide receiver in the Big Ten. He's back. O-line is replacing 4 starters, and honestly, a lot of the questions that Oregon has are the same question that Georgia has. So, experience-wise, coaching-wise, got to put Georgia ahead of them. So I do have Oregon at 4. 5, Clemson. Made a huge move bringing in Penn State's defensive coordinator. That defense really hasn't been the same since Skeletor left a couple of years ago to go to Oklahoma. Dabo's spending big money on coaches since obviously you won't do it in the portal. So you got to spend it somewhere, and getting elite coaches has to help. Getting rid of the brain drain and just heterogeneous stuff that they have there, like getting some different ideas in there should help Clemson. So that's good for them. I know I said that wrong, but it is what it is. Sammy Brown's still there. We talked about him a lot last year. That's exciting.
Yes.
Looking like still wish you would transfer back home, but still have a little bit of time for that.
We do.
Got to think Clay Klubnik being in his 3rd year as a starter will be huge for them in arguably the weakest Core 4 conference this year. And he wasn't bad. Like he played well enough to beat Texas. They obviously had other things going on there. And then I did hear a Clemson insider talk about the wide receiver room getting closer to what they had in the 2010s, where they had like spectacular, like superstar wide receiver after superstar wide receiver. They're not quite there yet, but they're getting back to that. They haven't had that the last couple of years. So that's
a lot of the guys that they have on that level are true freshmen or sophomores right now.
Yeah.
So still yet to be proven,
Mm-hmm.
but they have the raw talent in the room.
Yeah, and with the money they put in this coaching staff, they, better hope that they get the most out of these guys. And I think they probably will, especially with the quality of the schedule that they play in the ACC. So Clemson being number 5, I think is fair. 6, this is where I really kind of start to be like, not super, super confident, but kind of just going off of reputation and stuff like that. So number 6, I do have Notre Dame. It does speak volumes that they couldn't land the first American Pope. He went to Villanova, so that's tough.
I will say, as what I've been told, specifically since Kelsey's bartending at the Knights of Columbus in Savannah, I've been told I'm a dirty Protestant, so I cannot have an opinion. But you're correct.
Yeah. Like, come on. Y'all couldn't try a little bit harder to get him?
Bro,
you didn't see it?
Bro, all right. To put it to be fair, the new Pope's also a White Sox fan. Like he's not even a Cubs fan. And like I get it. They both have sucked for the better part of the last 100 years. I understand that. The Cubs are still cooler. They still have a better stadium. You still have a
Yeah.
better chance of not getting shot leaving Wrigley Field than you do wherever the hell the White Sox play on the south side.
The south side is right off of I-94, and you don't want to be there.
Right. I've been told by people that live in Chicago that as much as I want to go to a Bulls game,
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Yeah, I will credit to him though. Grew up on the south side. That's who you're supposed to cheer for.
That's fair.
So he's loyal. He's loyal. He has faith, and that's what you want in the Pope.
It is. Yep, for sure.
But yeah, Notre
Dirty
Dame can,
Protestant, not allowed to have an opinion.
dirty secret. I'm not even baptized Catholic. I just pretend to be one.
Oh,
So yeah. Sorry, married into it. So I'm gonna burn in hell with everybody else. So it's all good.
now you sound like a Pentecostal. If you're not Catholic, you go to hell.
Oh man.
Y'all didn't know you got into a Christianity podcast, did you?
Yeah, psych. This is this is theology 101. Let's go. Um
Drunk theology, not drunk history.
yeah. That's what starts wars. Um but all right, on to the next crusade here. So Marcus Freeman, certified dog. He he's gonna get these boys ready. I mean, he got them to the freaking college football playoff championship game with not the best roster in the world. Lost to
He
Northern
got
Illinois.
them 3 games further than they ever should have been.
He absolutely. So I credit him for all of that. So at a minimum, they should be a top 6 team. They do have Jerome Bettis Jr., legacy guy. That's cool to have since we can't get those guys all the time. I don't know. I don't know if he's a running back. Honestly, I don't know what position Jerome Bettis Jr. plays.
It
I
doesn't
don't
matter. He'd probably be better at D line.
probably. Yeah, I'm sure he's a big boy in his genes. I'm sure. Pause. Anyway, but it looks like freshman quarterback C.J. Carr, Lloyd Carr's grandson, out of Michigan, is going to take over for Riley Leonard as he fights Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson for who will lead the Colts to the worst record in football next year. So that's exciting.
They're just tanking to draft another quarterback that can't throw a forward pass.
Oh my God, they're going to draft Arch. Oh my God, that's why they did this. They need another Manning.
Another Manning to only win 1 Super Bowl.
No, Peyton won 2.
Only won 1 with the Colts.
That's fair. Should have won multiple, but Deflategate and whatnot. Anyway, 7. I got Penn State.
Yeah, well, we're talking about deflated balls. Penn State.
Yeah. The deflated balls personified as the Penn State Nittany Lions. So I'm gonna say something nice about James Franklin. He did take Jim Knowles from Ohio State after they lost their defensive coordinator to Clemson. So that's a good move. Good on him. I would think. I mean, that's probably the best move he could have made.
The best decision he's made for Penn State in a year, but if you take out last year's offensive coordinator hire, it's the best decision he's ever made for Penn State.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Drew Aller lost Tyler Warren, so legitimately no idea who the man's going to throw to. Not that he's probably going to throw a ton, but he'll, do checkdowns and all that and be a top 10 pick in the NFL next year. So good on James Franklin for bamboozling everybody into thinking that Drew Aller's a good quarterback.
Hey, Colts, we're talking to you.
Penn State's probably going to be a top 10 team all year because they don't play nobody. And then when they do, they're going to be exposed again, just like they are every year. It's arguably the greatest tradition in sport, in a sport that has the best traditions. It's just Penn State choking against teams that have similar, better talent. Is what it
And
is.
side note, if Penn State could have gotten a touchdown from the 1 yard line last year, Ohio State doesn't get in the playoffs to win a national title. One
Would
yard from Penn State prevents Ohio State from winning a national championship.
Ooh, sidebar. So if Ohio State doesn't get in the playoff, because yeah, if they lose that game, they should this as
Texas
a
is officially back if Ohio State
ooh,
does not get in the playoff last year.
I think Notre Dame beats Texas.
That an all timer, honestly, because Notre Dame's defensive line would terrorize Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning after a quarter of where Quinn Ewers completes 2 forward passes.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're talking a 12-10 national championship game where only 5 people are watching at the end of it.
Even with Texas and Notre Dame in it,
Yes.
that'd have been it.
And those 5 people are Notre Dame fans because Texas fans have given up.
Yeah,
Fairweather fans, we all know they are.
indeed.
Sorry, not sorry, being honest.
Hmm. So yeah, Penn State was 7-8. I have LSU. Notably, I'm yet again, again a tradition unlike any other. I'm too high on LSU going into this season.
Wait, are you calling it LSU Ole Miss SEC title game? Because that would be the perfect Mike call of the preseason.
No, I'm not high on Ole Miss. LSU maybe.
I'm
We'll
not
see.
high on Ole Miss, but I might be a little buzzing.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. It is way too early. I don't know. I'd have to look more into Ole Miss before I drink Kool-Aid with them. But um, do have LSU at 8. Busting us as a second full year as a starter. Might be the best quarterback in the conference. Look at the leap that Jaden Daniels took in year 2. That's something that could feasibly happen, and LSU better hope that happens. All right, 9. Try to go through this a little bit quicker. 9. I have Florida. Purely a DJ Lagway, presumption. How This is purely how DJ Lagway played last year and how much better they looked with him. Obviously, they lost wide receivers and running backs to the draft, but if you have a good quarterback, you can definitely elevate those around him. Looking at you, Carson Beck.
Pause. I don't have Florida in my list, and here's the one area where I agree with you on a different side of it.
Okay.
DJ Lagway is, I think, for college football next year, as far as the core four goes, he's one of the quarterbacks returning with the highest upside.
Yeah, sure.
He had surgery on his throwing shoulder in December, January, something like that. And, I have no idea what shoulder surgery he had, but I know, like, from the one I had 2 years ago, my left arm's still not 100%. That's
Yeah,
kind of
you
my
cannot throw the
biggest
ball.
concern. Also, of the players that Florida had coming back on their defense, most of the ones that you could count on transferred. So defense is a big question. DJ had shoulder surgery. Those two right there are the only reasons I don't have Florida in my top 10.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, at this point, like 8, 9, 10, you can convince me otherwise. I'm not like super strong on 8, 9, and 10 in my
I'll be honest, Florida, if DJ comes out and throws for 300 yards in week 1 and the defense holds whoever it is to a decent yardage for the level of competition, I'm all in. Top 10 making the playoff, I'm sold. But to me, I'm just, especially having had shoulder surgery recently, I'm just too hesitant to be all in on DJ Lagway.
They play Long Island that first game.
If he comes out and throws for 300 yards and the defense holds them to 10 or less points, I'm in. Florida's going to jump from unranked to top 10 in my rankings after week 1. Like, I don't care who it is.
Yeah.
but I've got to see it just and primarily the shoulder thing. Like I said, like even working out like I have been, like I have a gym in my garage. I can bench press to this day. I can still bench press a decent amount of weight. Push-ups hurt. Like
Yeah,
it's just the slight difference in angle of the shoulder makes it to where something's extremely uncomfortable.
that's fair. And hopefully, I mean, not for our sake, but for DJ's sake, hopefully that they can help him with that and he can kind of get back to 100%
For sure. And
for his sake.
I will say University of Florida's health department and their like PT staff probably better than the Savannah's VA's PT staff. Just gonna take a guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that's probably not a hot take.
Probably not, but I'm still hesitant because, like I said, I'm still dealing with it. But
Right.
I am ready to be sold.
All right, my last one. Again, I can be convinced otherwise, but I'm going to Illinois at number 10. Team won 10. They won 10 games last year, albeit with besides Indiana, maybe having the easiest schedule in the Big Ten. Third-year starter quarterback Lute Altmaier is very clutch, but he doesn't necessarily have the numbers to back that up of being like an elite quarterback. But he's played well for the Illini. And other part here, they're third. They have the third most returning production in the country at 76% overall. So, as a 10-win team, bringing back three-quarters of their team, it's probably a good thing.
So my one pushback, do you know the 24% they're losing?
No idea.
The running back that transferred to Georgia.
Hell yeah, let's go.
I don't know if that's actually statistically correct, but he
It,
was
it might be.
he was a top 5 rusher in the Big Ten last year. That's coming to Georgia this year.
Mhm.
But all right. So I'm gonna get into mine, and I will say off the top, I put my ranking together with some guidelines that I gave myself because if I don't give myself rules, I'll do some craziness. But the way that I'm currently looking at this is where the level of talent, returning production, and proven coaching culminate. So we're talking like a preseason football hot crazy scale. Like where does it meet? Where does it make sense? And that's kind of where I'm ranking teams. But I agree with Mike. I got Texas number 1 overall, one of if not the most talented team in the country, a legit defense, not as good as they said last year, and
Yep.
an offense that, if we're being entirely honest with each other, should be better a dual threat quarterback, healthy running back room, and their most talented wide receiver was a true freshman last year coming back. Great coaching staff, starts on top of the offense and gives PK a full autonomy of the defense. Look, guys, the people that I look to for pronunciation of names in college football don't even pronounce their defensive coordinator's name, and that right there is why I'm out. Like it's PK. The people that I look to pronounce names can't pronounce it. It's PK.
Yeah.
Number 2, I've got Oregon. Dante Moore is a guy who's done it before. Even in limited action at UCLA, he won some games. Last year, he sat behind Dylan Gabriel. Oregon has also had back-to-back Heisman finalists at quarterback. I think that goes underrated when you're talking about Oregon Ducks going into 2025. Evan Stewart is back, like you talked about, top 3 at minimum, returning wide receiver in the Big Ten. They've had some questions on the line of scrimmage, but with Dan Lanning, there are some things you don't really question. You just know there's going to be answers.
Yep.
Especially with how bottom heavy the Big Ten is. You've got 3 tough games in the Big Ten every year, and not like if you're a Big Ten apologist, I'm sorry, it's the truth. There's 3 tough games in the Big Ten every year. Every week in the SEC is tough.
Yeah.
So deal with it. Number 3 team in the country, I have Clemson. And this pretty simple to me. Cade Klubnik, once Garrett Riley was allowed to run his offense, is a top 10 quarterback in the country. While they are replacing Phil Maffa, they have multiple guys that took snaps in 2024. And on top of that, the second leading rusher on the team in 2024, Cade Klubnik. He had over 600 yards last season. with their returning wide receivers, which, Mike and I kind of talked about earlier, they're getting back to that elite level of wide receiver. Jake Briningstool, off to the Chiefs, tight end. He was fourth leading pass catcher last season, and he was the only guy that really caught passes for significant yardage against Georgia last
Yeah.
season. He was really the star of the game against Texas late in the season. I think that is the piece they're going to miss the most. But the Clemson defense is normally good. Now that you give them Tom Allen to create plays and packages for Sammy Brown, I think the rest of the ACC is in trouble. I think the ACC this year is Clemson and everybody else. And I'm not projecting towards the end of the season, saying off the top, before we get into a single game, who I think the best teams in the country are. Clemson is there. Dabo, after Georgia dismantled their team last year, Dabo took his hands out of the offense. And that's the reason why I now have faith in Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
Dabo just said, hey, Garrett Riley, you took a team of 3 stars to a national championship. I should probably let you do what I pay you to do.
And that's why that was like 8 figures a year or something like that.
Yeah. And then Clemson makes it to almost winning in Austin in the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild what happens when you trust the coaches that you pay.
Yeah.
Number 4 team, I've got Georgia. And so Georgia's replacing, I'm going to tell you every negative thing I have to say about the University of Georgia's team this year. I know we're a Georgia podcast. And to be fair, I still think Georgia's making the playoff. I still think they have a very good chance to win the SEC. But as a podcast that primarily talks about Georgia, and as someone who primarily thinks about Georgia, I have more negative things to say and more questions than teams that I don't pay attention to. But going into 2025, Georgia is replacing almost everyone on a bad offensive line. Yep. If the players that are currently here were better than the players they had last year, they probably would have played, is the concern there.
Yep.
They're replacing a lot on a less than stellar defensive line as far as rushing defense goes. They're replacing a mid quarterback with a guy who's only played against 2 of the best defenses in college football in 2024. So as high as I am on Gunner, we don't know.
Yeah.
Like we just don't know. He played the second half against Texas and then a game against Notre Dame. Who knows?
Yeah, he's played like what 90 meaningful minutes.
Yeah. And if you before those 2 games in his entire 2-year career at Georgia, he played 20 snaps.
Mm.
Like if we're being entirely honest with each other, we know next to nothing about Gunner Stockton.
Yeah.
And even if you want to bring in last season, where he played second half of the SEC title game and the Sugar Bowl, the offensive line was not good. Couldn't protect him. I complained about that quite a bit last year. I complained about that specifically after the Sugar Bowl, where I saw it with my own 2 eyes. He had wide receivers that could not catch a cold, let alone a pass. Like he kind of got tossed out there with a game plan for a guy who has the mobility of an old Peyton Manning and wide receivers that can't catch passes, and said, let's go win a Sugar Bowl, kid. And it didn't work. So we know nothing about what a Mike Bobo offense with Gunner Stockton is going to look like.
Right.
But regardless, we still don't know. So they're trying to rediscover a running game. And to be fair with all of y'all, Nate Frazier, Roderick Robinson, Cash Jones, McCray from Illinois, like the running game's going to be better.
Has to be.
We haven't seen it, but it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like point blank period. It first off, statistically, it can't really get worse. But also,
it's the worst running game that Kirby's had at Georgia.
It's the worst running game Georgia's had since, I believe, like 2004.
Yeah.
It's bad. But It's got to get better. But moving on to the defense side of the ball, Georgia's trying to replace both safeties at the only secondary position where we really had confidence last year. Uh, Malachi Starks, Dan Jackson, KJ Bolden is there. You brought that up earlier. But the reason that I still have Georgia at 4 is because 247 talent composite, they're the second most talented team in the country. They have brought in transfers at key positions this year. And you still have Kirby damn smart. It
Yep.
is point blank period. Reason number one, because the talent level is there. The returning production, for the most part, is there. And then you have the best coach in college football to get you the rest of the way.
Sidebar real quick. I can't remember what publication said it, but somebody said that Kirby is not the best coach in college football. It's Mac Brown. Not shit, not Mac Brown. Bill Belichick.
If you listen to the show for a while, you know I'm high on Bill Belichick. But at the same time, Nick Saban was the best coach in the history of college football and couldn't win very many games at the next level. College coaches and NFL coaches are not the same.
No.
I think Bill Belichick is set up well for this level of college football. That's until his girlfriend's crazy as hell. Her face is more plastic than it is skin, but that's beside the point. Also, look, she's like 24. She had no hard life yet. Why has she got Botox? Why has a woman with no wrinkles got Botox? That's a real question. Anyways.
It's a question whether or not Bill Belichick's going to be there first game of the season against TCU.
Is he going to be allowed to leave the house? Is she going to be like, that cutoff sweatshirt looks way too cute on you. You got to stay here. And he's going to be like, yes, ma'am. Like, who knows? We don't. Bill Belichick is capable of being a top 5 coach in college football. Is he putting the huevos back in to do it? No one knows. No one knows.
Yeah.
No. I think if she breaks his heart, UNC's winning the national championship.
You got to keep Jordan happy.
Or just for the sake of my argument, like let's just pretend the UNCAD has had her a sleeper agent this whole time. And as soon as they lose that first game, break up with him, you can't date a loser. And then he just full on robot Terminator. They win every other game they ever play.
There you go. Again,
until he dies in the weight room.
ACC schedule. It's possible.
It is. All right, we have been going for a hot minute, and we are way off track here. All right. Number 5, I've got Ohio State. And going into the season, they're extremely talented. They've got the best returning offensive player in the country in Jeremiah Smith. They've got a great defensive player in Caleb Downs. Sidebar, I see the hype at Ohio State. Turns out, Alabama's defense just kind of sucked. Did not give him the opportunity to shine. Turns out, Caleb Downs is that guy.
Yep.
I was wrong about the general talent and the Alabama defense. He did kind of suck. He was overhyped just because he was a 5-star at Alabama. Regardless of the talent level, they have just as many, if not more, questions than Georgia in 2024 or in 2025. 2024 was Goldilocks year for Ohio State. The perfect transfers of key positions. The amount of guys they brought in that came back, I should say, when they had the opportunity to go pro, the high impact true freshmen. A lot of the upperclassmen and transfers are gone. They have a quarterback with no experience. They don't have the best running back duo in the country this year like they did in 2024. They lost a lot on both sides of the line of scrimmage. And most of the front 7, the most consistent wide receiver in school history is gone. That's saying a lot with Emeka Egbuka. I am not very high on Ohio State going into 2025. The problem is they're still like the 3rd most talented team in the country.
Yeah.
Here's the reason that I don't have Ohio State higher. They lost Chip Kelly, and they lost Jim Knowles. Their internally hired wide receiver coach or they internally hired their wide receiver coach to be the offensive coordinator. Ask James Coley how that goes.
Oh,
And no one in their right mind trusts Ohio State or trusts Ryan Day to lead this new coaching staff to be the same level of last season's.
I mean, it was national title or bust for them last year. So, I
Right.
mean, maybe yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing, but I think it would be unfair to expect a national title for them this year.
I agree with that. I think that 12 team playoff is the expectation
Yeah.
inside and out of that program, inside and out of that fan base. But if there are any Ohio State fans that are expecting anything close to what you had in 2024 this year, I would love for you to come meet me in reality. Like, this is nothing negative about your team in the future. You are still a top 3 talent level in the country. You had fifth year seniors and fifth year transfers and the most talented true freshman in the country last year. Like, you had Quinshon Judkins transferred to be the number 2 running back last year. Like, let's not pretend
Yeah.
the amount of money you paid these people last year had no effect on how the team played, and you're not paying anywhere close to that same amount this year for the level of proven production. You are still a phenomenal team. You are still very talented. You're still probably going 11-1 at worst. You're not 2024.
They do have Texas. They do have Michigan on the schedule. I don't know who. I assume they probably have Oregon or USC or someone like that. But one other thing I will say about that is they were blessed to have the 12-team playoff last year because if the 12-team playoff started this year, they would not have made it last year with the highest payroll in college football history.
It's fair.
So they lucked out with that. I mean, obviously they had some planning going into that, but
Yeah.
going 10-2 would not have gotten you to the 14 playoff.
No.
So good for them.
All right, moving on to Notre Dame, number 6. I don't remember if I have them higher or lower than you do. I think we have the same, actually.
I think so, yeah.
This one to me, it's quite literally 4 things that has me putting Notre Dame at 6. 1, Jeremiah Love is the best returning running back in the country. I will not listen to arguments in any other direction. As far as
Wait,
single running,
is he back?
he's
I thought
back.
he left.
He was a
Oh.
sophomore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, he had the most hurdles in the country last year as a sophomore. Um, he hurdled
Okay.
like 5 people with a bum knee at the end of
Yeah.
last season.
Mhm.
Jeremiah Love is the best single running back in the country. I'll be honest, you can't prove me otherwise. I don't care.
Mhm.
2, Notre Dame historically has a good offensive line. Specifically under Marcus Freeman, they have a phenomenal offensive line. 3, Notre Dame, specifically with Marcus Freeman there at any coaching position, has always had a phenomenal front on the defense. And 4, Marcus Freeman's that dude. Like, that's all
I mean,
that matters.
I will say, I love the fact that our whole Notre Dame analysis between the two of us was like Marcus Freeman.
Well, it's Marcus Freeman. For me, it's Jeremiah Love, and for you, it's Jerome Bettis Jr. So they have 2
Yeah.
phenomenal running backs. Like, it is Notre Dame big front, Notre Dame run game, Notre Dame Marcus Freeman, number 6.
So Jerome Bettis Jr. is actually a wide receiver. I just looked that up now. He played at
Whoa.
Woodward Academy. Interesting. I didn't know he played in Georgia. Interesting.
I didn't either. What are his physical stats? Like, is he Megatron level size, or is he,
No,
or is his mama a speed skater? Like, is he skinny or what?
he is 6'1", so he's
Okay,
my size. He is a 3-star wide receiver. Well, 247 has him as 6'2", 201.
so a problem.
Potentially.
247 has him rated as a 3-star problem. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
happy about that.
Okay. So I was wrong, but the name value.
Yeah. They got They got a guy who his entire life has been, you know, just trained to be the baddest, hardest working man on the planet. Um, at the only position they sucked last year outside of quarterback.
Yeah.
Love that for everyone not named Notre Dame. Um, all right, 7. I've got LSU at number 7, and over the last few years, they've been a mid defense away from the playoff. And if we're being entirely honest with each other, LSU with a mid defense in 2023 blows Michigan out of the water in the playoff, and that's just the amount of respect I have for that offense.
Yeah, for sure.
So, with Blake Baker at defensive coordinator and the secondary getting better, I think LSU is there with a mid defense. I specifically am not expecting LSU to have a good defense this year.
No.
Being mid is all they need.
Hmm.
The offense is always good. Busting nuts wasn't as reckless with the football as I thought that he would be last year. They've got a running back with the most Duke frat boy name in college football, Caden Durham.
Oh my God.
That dude ran all over the place last year, and the whole time I thought he was a Pike in at Duke. Like I so confused. I really was. Um, so LSU is progressively answering questions at the defensive side of the ball. Their offense, I don't think really anyone should have questions about scheme wise, quarterback, running back, offensive line. For the most part, they are replacing 2 tackles, including a first rounder. That's just kind of what they do. Brian Kelly's always going to have offensive linemen. My biggest question about LSU comes into the wide receiver room. Um, of their projected starting wide receivers, only one of them is over 6 foot tall.
That could be a problem.
Yep. So LSU has 8 wide receivers on the roster under 6 foot tall. 4 of those 8 are 5'9" or shorter, including 2 projected starters.
I mean, that's great. Like if you're in the MAC or like CUSA.
Right. And I understand that as a society we're all getting a little bit shorter. I was over 6 foot tall before I messed up my back. I understand. Like being over 6 foot's not the end of the world. The issue is we're living in a world where most defensive backs are over 6 foot tall and just as fast as you.
Yeah.
So, and on top of that, and this is kind of a side note and more of just because a lot of publications have LSU winning a national title this year. Um, Brian Kelly's won one big game in the entirety of his career, and it was just because Jaden Daniels refused to lose to Alabama in his first year at LSU.
Hmm.
Brian Kelly himself has won 0 big games in his entire career. His
Yep.
coaching, 0. Jaden Daniels, multiple. Brian Kelly, 0.
I mean, Brian Kelly's a high floor coach, but that's kind of what we wanted out of Mike White with the basketball program. High floor. Is he going to win a big game? Probably not.
He might win one every now and then.
Yeah.
But it's mainly because his players just refuse to lose.
Yeah, in spite of the coaching, they could win a big game.
Yeah. And that's just kind of where it is on LSU. Do I think LSU has the pieces to make the playoff? Yes. Do I think they have pieces to make the semifinal? For sure. Do I think that they have the pieces to potentially play for a national title? Why not?
Yeah.
Do I think they have the coaching to do it? No. But LSU's number 7 mainly because their wide receiver room is mostly shorter than I am as a non-athlete. So that's just kind of disappointing. At number 8, I've got Penn State. And I know that I'm always the guy that says I won't put Penn State higher than 15 until they beat someone. But I'd be intellectually dishonest with y'all if I didn't have Penn State in my top 10. I put them after all of the, in my opinion, no-brainer teams, and that's for one specific reason. Drew Aller. I don't trust Drew Aller. I don't know if I can ever trust Drew Aller for two reasons. Every time he was sent out to make a play to rip victory from the jaws of defeat, he hasn't done it. It not only has he not done it, he's been bad. His last play of the 2024 season was an interception to lose a playoff game. Also, not only do I not trust him, but his head coach doesn't trust him. James Franklin has said multiple times that deep passing is something that he doesn't believe in. If you have a quarterback that can do it, you would do it. But we all know that if Andy Kotelnicki had full autonomy of the offense, they'd be slinging it. James Franklin doesn't let anyone have full autonomy of anything. I am fully convinced that James Franklin takes his car to the mechanic and tells the mechanic what is wrong and how to fix it. But Penn State earns this spot with two players by themselves. We got Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, the best running back duo in the country. And I say duo, not individual running back, because that goes to Jeremiah Love. But I'll be entirely honest. Penn State, for me, with losing Abdul Carter, with having a mid-secondary, with losing offensive linemen, with still returning Drew Aller, not improving in the wide receiver room, if it was not for Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, they would be 12 to 15, somewhere around there.
For sure, yeah.
Those two guys bring them from wherever the hell they would be to 8, because I have faith that they're going to beat almost every team in the country just with those two guys.
I mean, Penn State's a bronze medal personified.
Yeah. No, I don't know if you saw this, but I said that if Andy Kotelnicki had full autonomy of the offense, they'd be slinging it. James Franklin doesn't let anybody have full autonomy. I'm convinced that he brings his car to the mechanic and tells his mechanic what's wrong and how to fix it.
It's probably really, really fair. Yeah.
Like, man, he needs to go to a therapist for his control issues, because it's probably why he lost all his hair, you know?
Yeah. Like they say in Frozen, you let it go.
He definitely let that hair go, for sure.
Yeah. You're paying these guys, let them do their job. Just like, it took Dabo long enough to realize that.
I'll be honest, man. I would love to work on James Franklin coaching staff, because I would get paid $1 million to not be able to do my job. Like, have him do my job for me.
Mm-hmm.
Shitty part is, I'd have to live in Penn State in the winter. I don't want to do that.
Especially that part. There's nothing in State College.
Nope.
Nothing. They don't even have airport big enough for a jet.
Man, when it snowed in Savannah, I told Kelsey we were moving further south. Like, what? Nope, we ain't doing this.
Yeah.
All right, number 9. I've got Alabama, and this is really for one reason. Well, I guess two reasons. Saban recruiting classes are still there. They're still extremely talented. I know they've had some guys transfer out. Doesn't particularly matter. And number 2, Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb are back together. The offense is going to be nasty.
Yeah.
That's why Alabama's number 9.
Well, my pushback is, like, do you trust Ty Simpson? I don't.
I trust him as much as I trusted Jalen Milroe.
But at least Milroe was elite at something. I guess it was running and not holding on to the ball or throwing, but like he could do something like really well. I don't know what Ty Simpson can do.
Well, if there's anything Jalen Milroe was elite at last year, it was giving the ball to the other team.
And for that, we can be thankful.
We can be. But, like, is their next guy going to be worse than that? Like, I can't imagine his touchdown interception ratio is going to be like 19 to 12.
Turnover-wise, probably not. I wouldn't think so. You got to be better. And if he's worse, he's going to get taken out because, again, he's not elite at one thing that you're like, we can't really lose that aspect.
And if Ty Simpson gets taken out, who do they have? Austin Mack, a guy that Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb personally recruited to Washington and then to Alabama.
Yeah.
Like a 6'5", slightly dual threat guy with a cannon on his shoulder. Like, oh, no, our backup option is white Michael Penix. Like, who would have thought?
Yeah, right. Yeah, we will see. We will.
I'll be honest. If Ryan Grubb was not back in Tuscaloosa, Alabama would not be in my top 10.
Yeah, that's fair.
But for me, Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer, as someone who has followed them, like I specifically remember their time at Indiana.
Hmm.
When they played Ohio State in that Big Ten title game. Like I remember that up until and then at Fresno State when they were ranked and when they were doing well, and then at Washington when they were ranked and doing well. And this is something that I think I talked to you and a few other people about it before we even started the podcast about Washington and Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb was that they're going to be good. Is it this year or is it next year? It doesn't matter. They're going to be good. And specifically with Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb at Washington, before the year they made the playoff, guy was high on them all year.
Yeah.
And then as soon as the season was over, I was like, Washington's my team next year. Okay, I
Hmm.
don't care who, what, when, where, why. I remember saying it in our bandwagon team and in everything we talked about in the offseason. I was like, no matter what, I can't choose Washington next year because they're winning the conference and making the playoffs.
Yep. And they did.
Because that's the kind of confidence I have in Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb together.
Hmm.
The good news about them at Alabama is they still have that defensive coordinator from last year, the guy that runs a 4.25 in the SEC. Um,
Yeah.
for the life of me, I cannot remember his name after I bragged on myself for remembering names 30 minutes ago.
Uh,
Doesn't matter. He sucks. Um,
Kane Womack.
Kane Womack. Yep,
Gotta be Kane.
yep. He's no Blue Kane, if you ask
No,
me.
no.
But all right, last team that I'm talking about, Arizona State. Kenny Dillingham's one of the best young coaches in college football. I
Dilly
think
dilly.
he's definitely the most dedicated. I mean, he essentially took this Arizona State job for free in like head coaching terms. Like, did he
Yeah.
get paid six figures? Yeah, but I think he was the lowest paid coach in the Core Four his first year, and
Hmm.
then last year made the playoffs when he was projected to win the least amount of games in the Big 12. Sam Levitt, I think, is a good quarterback. He has
Yeah.
turnover problems at times. Still think he's phenomenal. And I truly believe in my heart of hearts, Jordan Tyson, who was their leading receiver last year, who was hurt and unable to play in the Big 12 title game or the playoff game against Texas. I think if Cam Scatterbo and Jordan Tyson were both healthy in that playoff game, and maybe if a referee understood what targeting was, we're not talking about Texas as the number one team this year. I think we are legitimately talking about Arizona State being a top five team. But injuries at the end of last year have kind of skewed everybody's opinion. I trust Kenny Dillingham to figure it out because of his dedication. He's got a lot of returning production. I'm high on the Sun Devils, but at the same time skeptical.
I mean, not having Cam is one of the reasons why I didn't have them in the top 10. I mean, they, as always, the Big 12 is pretty wide open. I'm sure we'll get into that more
Oh,
throughout the
for
summer.
sure.
But I mean, they're the defending champs, so they
Yeah.
should be up there at this point with their quarterback returning. So
Yeah.
no real big pushback there.
All right. So we got to run through Caleb pretty quick. We took much longer than we thought. So we're going to alternate. You get odds, I get evens.
Okay. All right. One, Caleb has Ohio State. I guess he just hates me, I guess. I don't know. But he's saying that they're the defending champs with the best receiving core in the country, so they should be number one. It's hard to argue that.
Yeah, that's fair. For number two, he has Georgia. This has less to do with him trusting the team, even though he is absolutely wasted on Hopium, and more to do with him not trusting a lot of the other top teams. Fair.
Yeah, also fair. Yeah. Three, he has Texas. He's not a guy who says this team has a good quarterback return, so they're going to be good. Plus they beat Georgia, and we'll talk about ranking them over you. For now, does think Arch is going to be great, but he can't carry the team by himself, which is fair. Thankfully, Texas has the best team money can buy, but it wasn't enough last time, and it won't be now.
Yeah. And for the next two teams, he doesn't have anything written down. Me and Mike kind of went through every reason that you could possibly rank these two teams. For number 4, he's got Oregon.
And then 5, he's got Notre Dame.
And then 6, he does have a reason for Clemson here. He said most folks have them in the top 3, but I don't trust Cade Klubnik as far as he can throw an accurate ball, and that is far. Still a defending power conference champion, should probably be ranked here.
Fair. Yep. At 7, he has Penn State. Like pretty much any reasonable person, he doesn't trust James Franklin, which is why they're lower here than most. By the way, why are these guys ranked number 1 in so many other polls? The answer is the classic lazy. The quarterback's back, so they're going to be good, which is fair. You know what? Same thing. This is not what he wrote, but Christian Hackenberg was supposed to be like all-world number 1 pick, and then after he had the season where he was projected to be really good, he ended up falling to be like a day 3, like 5th round pick to the Jets, and then we never saw him again.
If a Penn State quarterback is projected to be good, they're probably going to suck.
Like or they'll transfer somewhere else.
As history goes, they're either going to be good for someone not Penn State or suck.
Mm-hmm.
If no one's ever heard of this kid before, you have Trace McSorley, and you'll finally beat Ohio State.
Fair.
Like that. That's just how Penn State goes. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. Y'all kind of suck and you're insufferable. Anyways. LSU, crazy skill position players on offense. I should have said that in this volume because of all their skill position players being tiny.
So at 9, he has Arizona State, saying a bit of a wild card, but he does believe in the fighting Kenny Dillinghams as much as he believes in Joe Henry. Good Lord. I believe in Joe Henry.
I guess if I'm going to have all y'all's friends, I need to actually pay attention to WWE. I don't even know who that is.
You know what? Just go on social media for a second, and his walkout song and video you'll get why we talk about Joe Hendry as much as we do.
Honestly, one of my friends is actually in Greenville. I don't know if there's like a pay-per-view tonight or if it's Raw tomorrow night. But I have a friend in Greenville for some sort of WWE event.
SmackDown's in Savannah Friday.
Did you get us tickets?
I did not.
You dirty hoe.
I know.
All right. So last team, he's got Florida at number 10. He says, I hate to admit it, but they had a lot of positive momentum last year and hold on to a huge chunk of what made it work. I know that I'm the outlier as far as ranking Florida because of my skepticism as far as the shoulder injury goes. But like I said, I can bench press significant weight. I can't do 5 push-ups. And it's because of pain in my shoulder. It does make sense. I don't understand it. But one angle works, one angle doesn't. It's what happens when you have surgically repaired shoulder. It hurts me talking about DJ Lagway trying to throw a football with his shoulder. So, hopefully the University of Florida is better than VA. We're still all on pins and needles waiting for that answer.
Hopefully not. I think we can all agree.
Whoa. Hopefully not today.
With this particular case, hopefully the Savannah VA is better.
I hope they are better, just slower. I hope he gets to be 100% to where he doesn't even remember he had shoulder surgery after his eligibility is gone.
Indeed. Yep.
I guess I don't want him to hurt forever. I just want him to not be good at Florida.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that's a big ask, no.
Yeah, not asking for anything crazy here. Just his shoulder to feel like it's falling off for the next 2 years.
Yeah, just be Florida besides for the 90s and 2000s. That's all we're asking.
All right, guys. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Nothing Minor Podcast. I know we went a little bit long on this, but we had a good time. We had some stuff we needed to talk about. If you're not already, make sure you follow us on social media at nothing.finer.pod on Instagram, at finerpod on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. Just look us up. You will find us there. We are posting our SEC Big Ten Challenge videos on YouTube every Wednesday. I was a little bit late this week. I had the video edited, had it loaded up on YouTube, and forgot to hit schedule post. That's my bad. As Alex Jones says, I'm kind of retarded. But we're getting it figured out. It's we're gonna be there. Also, I'm not sure when we're gonna be putting out the official time, place, location, all that kind of stuff, but we are working on a different location that is family friendly for watch parties for the 2025 season. So y'all keep an ear out for that. But most importantly, as always, remember there's nothing finer in the land.
Been a drunken obnoxious Georgia fan. Good.